Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a few minutes just to wait for everybody to log on, and we will start really shortly. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm going to wait for another quick minute and we'll get started. I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to join. So thanks you all for joining us. We're going to start really soon. Okay, so I think it's we have enough people logged on. We're really happy to see all of you here. And thank you so much for making the time to join us today. My name is Liel, and I'm a customer success manager here at Comeet. Joining me is Orly Shitrit. She is our product manager, and we're both super excited to see all of you today to share with you our new auto scheduling feature. This webinar is going to cover the feature. We'll see how to use it, and of course, cover additional topics since we've already got you here with us. We've been working on this feature for quite a while. Ollie's going to share a little bit more information about that. Just before we get started, I do want to mention that we are going to talk about the auto scheduling feature from a Google Calendar point of view. You'll see that the feature is pretty similar in the rest of the calendars that you're using, Office or Exchange. So it'll be relevant for you as well. So let's get started. This is our agenda for today's webinar. We're going to talk about the auto scheduling feature. Following that, we're going to talk about our candidate voice. It's a survey that we send out to candidates to get feedback about the interviewing process at your companies, and we'll see that as well. And according to how we go with time, we'll talk about custom email templates as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Orly. She will share a little bit more about our new feature. Having some technical difficulties here, so just wait a minute. We'll be right with you.
All right. Hi, everyone. So thank you, Liel, for hosting me today, and thank you, all of you, for joining today. Really excited to tell you about our new auto scheduling feature. When we decided to develop this feature, we did it because we understood that there's a big problem that needed to be solved in the recruiting world. In a 2020 recruiting study, 67% of respondents said it takes between 30 minutes and 2 hours to schedule a single interview. And this is a huge time investment that we know you're all spending on scheduling interviews right now, that you could be investing that time elsewhere. From the candidate experience perspective, there's also something I think really uncomfortable for the candidate about being put on the spot to schedule a time for an interview. Say the recruiter offers me a time the first time, it doesn't work for me. then the recruiter offers me another time and another time. I'm not available at either of these times. And it puts me in an uncomfortable position. So auto scheduling gives the candidate control. It enables the candidate to decide on their free time to choose from an array of available times that are updated in real time, and gives them the control to be the ones choosing what the time that fits the best for the interview is. Now, we made the decision to develop this feature and not integrate with one of the existing tools on the market. I'm sure you all know about tools like Calendly. And there are a couple of reasons we decided to create our own feature. First of all, candidate experience is very important to us, and we know it's really important to you too. And so because we're focused on the candidate experience and how they meet your brand, in our candidate facing page, first of all, they'll see your logo, your brand color, and they'll see important information about the interviewer and the interview. The second reason that we developed this on our own is to give functionality that other tools on the market simply don't have. So our Pro version also allows you to schedule panel interviews and even schedule meeting rooms automatically. We at Comeet have been using auto scheduling for our recruiting for months now. It's been saving us a lot of time. We're getting good candidate feedback about it, and I'm excited to be rolling it out to all of you. So that said, I'm going to share my screen, and I want to show you some things about the setup for the feature. Just one moment, we're having technical difficulties again. Here we go. Great. So what you see here is a demo account. Doesn't have any real data from any of our customers. And the first thing I'll do is go into my company settings by clicking on the main menu and then clicking on settings and into the integrations section. So the only thing once this feature has been opened in your account that you really have to do is to ensure that you're already using one of these integrations. Safe to assume that most of you, if not all of you, already have this enabled in your account. You're using Google. The Google needs to be enabled. If it's 365, this needs to be enabled. You just click on integrate. That's all you have to do here. In addition, we have another option here on the bottom to connect a scheduling user. A scheduling user is optional. It's something that your IT can create for you to have a user that has visibility to all of the different calendars for all of the different interviewers. If you have the Pro version, also for meeting rooms. This means just the availability won't be connected to a specific user in the company, or there won't be a situation where maybe somebody wants to schedule an interview and they don't have visibility to one of the interviewers' calendars. It's optional, but it's something that you can definitely add if you'd like to. You just click to connect a scheduling user and add the credentials for this user. Now, the next step, once you've ensured that you have a calendar integration set up, is also set up in the personal profile. So I click back to the main menu on personal profile, and here we have these tabs up at the top. I'm going to click on the scheduling tab. We want to make sure that there's a calendar email here. You can also connect your calendar directly. It gives you some additional functionality when you're traditionally scheduling an interview through Comeet. It's not necessary. What is necessary is to have a calendar email. And here at the bottom of the screen, we have some information we added here about auto scheduling. So first of all, the default here will be flipped off. So you'll need to go into your personal profile and flip this little toggle on in order to start using auto scheduling. This is true for yourself and also anybody else in the company that you want to be scheduling interviews for. The reason the default is to be switched off is once we've added this feature for you, we don't want a situation where suddenly interviewers and hiring managers have events for interviews popping up in their calendar and they don't understand why. So it's important to be able to communicate this to your team. We'll also be sending out a message with link to suggested text that you can send out to all of the team to let them know about this new feature. I can set up availability time slots here. Make sure that you've selected the appropriate days for you, the appropriate times. If there's a day I want to break things down to 2 slots, I'm able to do that. I can just click on the plus here, add an additional time slot, play around with this. And of course, like anywhere else, always make sure you save your changes when you're done editing this page. Here in the middle of the page, we have this feature, which is part of our Pro package. We call it Comeet interview blocks. What this allows interviewers to do is to set up events in their calendar, call them Comeet interviews, and Comeet will know to schedule interviews inside of those time blocks. This is great for C-level executives, management, or just people who are super busy and could get caught without any availability at all in their calendar. So anybody using the pro version will be able to use this as well. There'll be a little toggle to flip on and they'll be good to go. And then this bottom section is available to everyone. It's preferences for auto scheduling. So the maximum time you'd like to allocate for interviews on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and I can also decide what the minimum notice I want to have for interviews. So if I want to make sure that I don't have any interviews scheduled less than 24 hours away, for example, I can set this as 24. You can see there's a range of time options here that you can choose from. And then at the end, all I have to do is click on the save button and I'm good to go. My calendar will be available for auto scheduling. Now that we've discussed the settings, I'm going to pass you back over to Liel, who will be going over some additional facets of the feature.
Thanks, Oli. So I'm seeing that you're already asking questions in the Q&A in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and mention that we're going to have a Q&A session in just a few minutes when we finish covering the presentation, and we're going to see an actual demo of how this works. I'm going to add also, because I see that some of you are asking this feature is going to be available for all clients who have a starter or ultimate package with us. Any clients that have an advanced package will have additional costs for this feature. And as Oli mentioned, we're going to be rolling out the pro version pretty soon, which will have additional costs for all clients. So now that we've heard from Oli about the settings and the feature, and I think you can already see that this is a feature that's going to save you a lot of time and really enhance your candidate experience, contribute to your branding, while continuing to automate the hiring process. I'm going to take you into a Comeet demo account and show you how this works as a recruiter, sending out the invitation to the candidate, what the candidate will see, and sort of how it feels. So this is my Comeet screen. And up until now, when you wanted to schedule your interviews, you would take a look at your tasks, right? So you have the interview unscheduled. Those are the interviews that you need to schedule for yourself. And we also have the option to schedule as recruiting assistants. These will be interviews that we will be scheduling on behalf of the hiring managers and the interviewers. I'm going to do an example today for an interview unscheduled for myself. I'm Amanda, the recruiter here in the demo. So I'm going to click on Jack Robinson and I'm in his candidate profile. Now the schedule button up until now was only a button that you could choose to select a specific time. Just a second, I want to make sure that you see my screen. You should be seeing my Comeet demo screen right now. Let's see, let's share it again. Okay, that should be better. Okay, thanks. I've got some tips here helping me out. Okay, so just gonna go through what I was just saying. This is the Comeet screen, and when we would want to go and schedule an interview, we either have the interview unscheduled, which are our personal interviews, or scheduling them as recruiting assistants or coordinators. For today's example, we're going to do an interview that I'm scheduling for myself as the recruiter, an HR interview. Now, up until today, and for all of you using Comeet right now, the schedule is essentially a button that you would click on, see your availability, and send an interview invite to the calendar. Once the auto scheduling will be active in your account, you will now have a drop down where you click schedule and select a time is what you've been doing up until now. And invite candidate to select a time is now your new option. So you're going to invite a candidate to select a time, and now you're going to see a new screen pop up. At the top part, you can see what kind of meeting you're going to be scheduling. In this case, it's taking the phone interview, 45 minutes, no need to include a link to an online meeting. These details are taken from the position workflow that you have set up. You can obviously also change them, choose video, change the duration, and decide to include either a Zoom link meeting or a custom link meeting. If you're using the pro version, you'll be able to reserve a meeting room. So let's just go back to our previous settings. Let's say we're going to do a phone interview for 30 minutes. Over here, we're going to see the candidate details. Okay, this is the name of the candidate, and we have the interviewers. We're also able to add a note for the interviewers for this specific interview. Before we send the email to the candidate offering him to select a time, we have our time options here below, and we're going to want to check the availability to make sure that we're sending actual relevant time slots, and we're not going to send an email with no actual options for the candidate. So in this case, the auto scheduling is checking our calendar right now, and that can see that we have 9 time options in the next 7 days. The first one is on Thursday this week. So if we're happy with the number of slots that we're offering the candidate, we can go ahead and click next and review the message. This is a new email template that will also have in your Comeet account. You'll be able to edit it and add your logo, add your phrasing or wording. Just want to make sure that you don't edit the link for the interview. This is how it would look like to the candidate. Hi, Jack. We'd like to invite you for your phone interview. Visit the link below for more information regarding the interview to select your interview time. This is an email that they can also reply to, as all of your other interview emails that you've been sending. You can obviously look here for the different tools, the visibility, anything that you've had before, it basically stays the same. Once we click send to candidate, we're going to see 2 new things in Comeet. The first thing is that we're going to see a new badge next to the scheduling. So we can see that this specific interview, we have already sent an invitation to the candidate to select a time. So we know that there's no need to schedule it right now. In addition, we've also added a new type of task. So on the left-hand side over here, you can see that we have a task called interview, candidate to select a time. Here will be all of the candidates that we've sent over the email. We can keep track of this and make sure that we're not missing out on anything, and all of the candidates have received the email and have indeed scheduled their interviews. So let's see how it looks like from the candidate point of view. This is the email that the candidate will receive. It will have your company name at the top or whatever subject line you've edited in your email templates. Hi, Taylor, we'd like to invite you for your phone interview. And this is the link that the candidate is going to click on. So I'm going to click on the link so you can see what the candidate sees from their point of view. As Olin mentioned, we have our company logo at the top. We are notifying the candidate that we'd like to give them the option to select a time for their interview. We have the positioning here as well. Over here, we'll have the type of interview, how long it's going to be, and the interviewer. We've also added the option to your personal profile that you can now add your LinkedIn URL so that the candidate will receive your LinkedIn profile when scheduling the meeting. He'll be able to prepare for the meeting accordingly. Over here, we have the part where we choose the time slot. You can see that the first available slot is this Thursday. Since it's 30 minutes, we can see the 30-minute blocks here. We are also seeing the time zone that this is in right now. Here, if we go forward in time, we can also choose slots for next week if we're not available this week. If a candidate goes through the slots that you've offered them and he can't find a suitable time, he's not available during any of these options, he has the option to click here, can't find a suitable time. So here, the candidate can basically give 3 or more options to the recruiter, add a note, hi, not available during the times that you've offered, I'm sorry, but I'd really like to speak soon. Here is my availability. Okay, they can also go back and decide to pick a time. Let's say I want to speak next week with a recruiter on a Wednesday and I'm available at 9:30 a.m. Once I choose that specific time, I will be asked to confirm my phone number if it already exists in the system and it's a phone interview, like the example that we're seeing right now. So I can go ahead and confirm. I can enter a different phone number that I'll be available at. And just before I click confirm, if I've changed my mind and I want to go back to select another time, I can go back, say, you know what, I'll make some time this week. I'll be available at 6 p.m. So that's basically what the candidate sees once they click confirm. The invitations for the interviewer and for the candidate will be sent automatically. So this is another part of automating your hiring process, because you won't need to send out the interviews. It will be sent out once the candidate selects a time. Now, as a recruiter sending out all of these emails asking candidates to set up their own interviews, I'm sure you'll have a lot of those. So we've also created a new email notification that you will receive. I'm Amanda, I'm the recruiter, and I will be notified that the candidate has selected a time for their phone interview. Invites have been sent to the candidate and the interviews. Okay, so I'm also being updated all the time regarding the status of these interviews for candidates. So last but not least, I'll just show you that you have a new email template, okay, in your templates in Comeet. And this email template, as I mentioned, can be edited. All you want to do is make sure that you don't change this specific attribute. Okay, you can edit the subject line, the text, add any images or logos. It's completely up to you. So now's a good time to start talking a little bit about your questions. I would love for all of you to take maybe 30 seconds and write some questions in the Q&A or in the chat so we can go ahead and answer some of your questions. Okay, great. So we're getting here some questions that we would like to answer together. Thank you everybody for writing your questions. So first question, what happens if a meeting is scheduled in one of the slots that was offered to the candidate before the candidate selected their time? So that's a really good question. The link for auto scheduling is updated real time. So even if I as a recruiter sent out the link today and the candidate only opened the email tomorrow or even in 2 days time, once they click the link, the auto scheduling feature will read the calendar of that specific interviewer and will offer slots that are available at that time. So we're not going to have any kind of situation of double bookings. Another question that I'm seeing here, can we add a Zoom link to the invite? So we saw that together. You have the option to add a Zoom link to the invitation itself. And as you know, you can also add this on a position level when you're building the workflow for this specific position. See, we have some more questions here. Would we be able to use this schedule to schedule interviews for others? Would there be an option to add other calendars? Great question. So yeah, this feature is totally there for you also to schedule your own interviews as a recruiter. You can also use this feature to schedule interviews for your other hiring managers. At this point in time, you're going to be able to schedule meetings with only one interviewer, and moving forward, we will also have this feature available in our Pro version where you will be able to schedule meetings and interviews for several people at once. So the link that you'll be sending to the candidate will sync between several calendars together. So thanks for that. What confirmation email will be sent to the candidate? How can we add the details that candidates need to know prior interviews, especially technical interviews? Great question. So the confirmation email that's sent to the candidate is exactly the same email templates that you're using today. And as some of you probably know, we have attributes called instructions to candidates that you can use. So in that way, you can edit all of your email templates in advance, and they will be automated and sent to the candidate once they select the time. Okay, let's see if we have any more questions here in the chat. Yes, so we can go back to our settings just to show you where it's set up. Just a second. And I'm seeing another question. Does this work to schedule online interviews? Definitely. The whole idea here is to have you save a lot of time on scheduling, and you can schedule all of your different kinds of interviews here. You can schedule phone, in-person, and video interviews, and the same email templates that you've been using as interview invites will also be available. Okay, let's see what other questions that we have. As a system owner, will I have the option to edit my hiring manager's preferences? So yes, definitely. As an system owner, you have the ability to go into your teammate screen, select the specific teammate that you would like to edit their profile for, and then you can go in and set up their scheduling hours. That's something that will probably save you some time as well to get them on board with this feature. We also, as Oli mentioned, we have an email template that you can share with them and explain the benefits of the feature. And the idea really here is to set up as much time as possible in the personal profile. You want to allow that to really reflect your working hours, because at the end of the day, the link will, update in real time and will only show your actual availability, of course, according to your preferences and the minimum notice that you've set up. How will this work if either the candidate or the interviewer needs to reschedule an interview that has already been scheduled? Also, very good question. So it's basically like it was before. The email that is sent to the candidate that invites them to schedule a time is an email that they can reply to. So once they've scheduled the interview and they have an issue and they'd like to move it, they're able to reply. Same goes for the hiring manager and the interviewer, just like they've communicated with you up until now, either via Comeet, via email. They can update you that you need to select a different time. How are we able to customize the confirmation email to the candidate? So I think I've mentioned this before. I think it'll be easier if I just go ahead and share my Comeet screen for you and show you how this is done. So I'm right here in Comeet, and as a system owner, I have access to the settings. So when I click on my company name at the top right-hand corner, I can go into email templates. Email templates under auto templates are all of the different templates that are triggered by an action in the system, and they're split up into candidates, sources, and internal use. So under candidates, you have 3 different kinds of interview templates that you can use. Interview scheduled, in person, phone, or video. And each one of them are email templates that are essentially the interview invites that a candidate will receive. So you can edit them however you like. For example, if it's an in-person interview, then it will pull the arrival instructions and your location on a map if you've entered these in your settings. Interview scheduled phone will tell the candidate that we will contact you and pull the candidate mobile that they've confirmed. And our interview scheduled video will include an attribute, which is the link to the online meeting that you've set up. Hope that makes sense. Can this be used to schedule a big on-site that has multiple interviews set up as parallel steps? So this is a really good question. I'm sure this is a challenge all of you have. So inviting a candidate to select a time, it's not a problem to invite them to select a large block of time, for example, a 3 hours in-person interview. In terms of coordinating the multiple interviewers, that's something that you'll have to do on your own end, because at this time, as we've mentioned, you can schedule an interview with 1 interviewer at the same time. Is this feature already live? Yes, it is. That's part of the reason why we're meeting you today. We wanted to let you know that we're rolling this out currently to several customers. We've been using this feature internally and testing it a lot, and we're always improving it. We're slowly going to roll out to more and more customers, and eventually in the upcoming weeks, launch it to all of our customers that have a starter and ultimate package. Okay, so I think that covers all of our questions. Any questions that you have that we haven't gotten a chance to answer, we'll be happy to communicate that later via the recording that we're going to share, and of course our support team will have more updates for you. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our presentation. Before we do that, I just want to say thank you so much to Oli for joining us today. It was really a pleasure to have you. Really appreciate that. So thanks, Oli. Thanks, everyone. So I want to move forward with today's webinar and talk about another topic that is a feature that we're also very proud of. I'm sure some of you, if not many of you, are already using it. It's an add-on feature called the Candidate Voice. And the Candidate Voice is an anonymous survey that you can send via Comeet to your candidates that have finished their process, whether they're hired, rejected, or withdrawn, and get their feedback regarding your hiring process, how they felt about scheduling and status updates, how did the interviewers treat them, and really get a lot of very valuable information that can help you improve your hiring processes and better understand your candidate's point of view. Anyone who fills in very positive feedback will also be sent to Glassdoor to fill in a review about your company. And once you have enough responses, you'll also have a series of reports that will be opened up for you that you can use to further analyze the results and learn more about your candidate experience. The candidate voice is built like a chatbot. So it's an email that the candidate will receive, and they'll be able to click on it and spend maybe max 2 minutes filling out the survey. It's really, really quick and easy to fill out. It's obviously automated from your system. You'll be able to set up the settings really easily, and of course, build your online reputation via Glassdoor. So this is how it works. Once the candidate status is updated, if they're hired, rejected, or withdrawn, 24 hours after the candidate has received an email updating them about their status, then the email will be sent to the candidate. They will submit their feedback. If they've clicked on it and not completed the form, they'll receive 2 reminders to do so. And once you have 15 responses and up, you'll be able to have the reports opened up for you. This is a screenshot of how the email looks like. I'm gonna show it to you live in just a minute. And as I mentioned before, it's a really friendly Q&A. It's pretty straightforward. It's about 10 questions. They can answer by rating their experience, and they also have the option to write different text replies. So let's go ahead and share my Comeet again. Okay, there we go. I'm going to open up an example of this email. I'm just going to ask you for your help. If you can't see my screen yet, then feel free to raise your hand. So what we're seeing now on the screen is the email that the candidate will receive once you've enabled the candidate voice feature. It will say, hey, candidate name, how did it go with Comeet, for example, or any other company name. This is the email. It's a built-in email. It's not customizable, nor are the questions that are asked in the candidate survey. Once the candidate will like to fill in their feedback, you can see that it says that on behalf of the company, we'd like to request your feedback about your interviewing experience for position name, customer success manager. Your feedback will be anonymous and will help improve communication with talented individuals like you. It will only take 2 minutes to complete. Okay, so it's pretty clear that this is anonymous and this is coming from a third party, so candidates are comfortable with answering the questions and know that they will not be identified. Once they click, this is the chatbot that will open up. It looks pretty simple on the screen, and I'll just mention here that it's really, really comfortable to answer on mobile and even looks sort of like a text message that you're texting with. So let's see, it looks like we need here another example to show you. So I'm just going to go ahead and find another example. Thanks for being patient. Okay, great. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And there we go. So this is the question that the candidate will start seeing. It will start out by mentioning that we're interested in getting their feedback, and it's a 2-minute survey that will help the company improve interviewing for everyone. We'll click Let's Get Started. Okay, and these are the questions. So first question, how was your experience with communication and scheduling? Okay, this is specifically asking about that. You can rate it poor, okay, or excellent. Let's go for excellent. Were you kept updated about your status? Okay, we can choose somewhat. You can see that at any point the candidate can fill in a text message here and basically give feedback by text, not only by the ratings. Even if they write an answer by text, they will be required to click on the rating buttons that they have. After some of the questions are answered, they will receive open questions. For example, how do you think communication could be improved? So you can type here, try to call more often. Okay, I can decide not to write anything and click skip. The next question, were the interviewers familiar with your background and the requirements for the position? You'll need to choose one. So let's say yes. Did the interviewers ask relevant questions about your experience and skills? Let's go for yes again. Were the interviewers respectful to you as a candidate? This is something really important that we want to make sure of. Let's go for yes again. Why did you choose this specific company? You can also type another answer. So here they have the option to either type or choose one of the options: company's reputation, social media or blog, or friend or colleague. So let's go for company's reputation. Did your interest in the company increase as a result of the interviewers? Okay, you can click no, somewhat, or yes. Let's go for somewhat. Now, this is a question asking them to rate their overall experience, rating it from 1 to 5. Okay, so I'm going to pick 4 for example today. And this is a question that all of the candidates will be asked, okay, towards the end of the survey. Overall, what's the most important thing that Talently can do to improve their experience? Okay, so you can either skip, okay, let's write an answer here. And we're going to click send here. This is the last question of the survey. It's basically like an NPS question, which I'm sure you're familiar with in the SaaS world. Basically, we're asking the candidate how likely are they to recommend our company to their friends or colleagues. Okay, so here we've broken it down to a 1 to 5 ranking, which we'll also see later on in the reports. We're going to choose 4. Since I've answered and given good feedback overall, now the chatbot is giving me the option to go into Glassdoor and write a review for this company. So I can click write a review and I will be sent into Glassdoor. Let's just do not interested for today's example. And that's it. Thanks, Eric Miller. Your feedback will be used to improve the experience for future candidates. Great, so that's pretty much how it looks from the candidate point of view. I'll go ahead and share my Comeet, and then we can talk about the settings real quick. So once this feature is enabled in your Comeet account, which is with additional cost, as I mentioned before, you're going to want to go into your company settings, and you'll now have a new menu on the left-hand side. This is the candidate voice menu. Enabling this feature is really simple. Essentially, there are 2 things that you need to decide. Once you click enable, you'll need to decide who of the candidates will receive this email. Will it be only candidates that had an in-person interview, meaning they probably had a longer process and reached more advanced stages in the hiring process? Or you can decide to cast a wider net and send this to candidates who've had also a video, or all of the candidates that have had interviews at a company, phone, video, or in person. Next, you're going to want to decide if you want to enable this for all of the positions at your company, or you'd like to go ahead and activate this only for specific positions. Our recommendations in this case is to really cast a wide net, as I mentioned, and to send this survey to as many candidates as possible. We want to get as much results as we can, enabling the reports and really giving us the option to learn more about our hiring process. So once you're finished with this, you're just going to go ahead and click save. So before we touch on some of your questions, I want to go back to our presentation and talk about the reports that we have in Comeet for the candidate voice. So as you'll see in the reports, we have 3 reports. We have the dashboard, the breakdown, and the full responses. We're basically taking every single question that was asked in the survey and breaking it down to the distribution of answers. We'll be able to see the trend and the overall percentage of positive responses. You'll be able to filter this by recruiter, hiring manager, department, location, and candidate status. And of course, keep complete anonymity for all of your candidates. So this is an example of a candidate voice dashboard. You'll be able to see how many surveys you've sent, how many have been started and clicked on, and how many have been completed, giving you in this demo data example a 29% completion ratio. This is actually a good number. We're seeing this number with a lot of our clients that are using this feature. We're seeing a 25% completion ratio and above, which is really good for this kind of surveys. And here we can see the overall candidate experience. This is the question that was asked. We can see the percentage of positive responses, which included, anyone who rated 4 or 5. We'll see the overall distribution, and we'll see the trend over a few quarters. This is an example of the interview etiquette question. You can see here the scheduling, okay, that we have excellent, okay, and poor. And in this case, it's also important to point out that someone who writes okay is different than a negative. So sometimes responses can also be neutral. We have here the motivation breakdown. Since this is a question that you can also write text, you can also see the breakdown, and you can also really see the answers that the candidate chose to write. This is an example of the second report, the candidate experience breakdown report. And here you have the option not only to see all of your results, but to sort of compare them across different parameters. For example, across recruiters, across hiring managers. You can compare it by candidate status. In many cases, you're going to see that candidates who have been rejected have, will be scoring lower, will giving you more negative feedback. But that's still really important, because even candidates that are rejected, we want to make sure that have good things to say about us and did have a good experience interviewing with us. We can break it down by location and departments. And it's really important to point out that all of these are connected. So if a recruiter has a lot of negative responses, it's not necessarily reflecting on that recruiter, but it's showing the feedback for all of the positions that she's managed. And it's also depending on the interviewers and the hiring managers and the coordinators that were scheduling the interviews and keeping the candidate updated. So just, food for thought on that. This is the question sequence that we saw together. Okay, this is also available if you'd like to take a look. I'm just going to remind that the questions cannot be edited or changed. It's a built-in feature. So before we go to our next topic for today, I would love to answer some of your questions. I'm going to turn on the chat here so I can see your questions. Okay, will this email be sent automatically to all candidates who apply, whether or not they actually interview? So no, the goal of this survey is to get feedback from those candidates who have actually met you via phone, video, or in person. You won't be able to filter which status receives these surveys. They will be for all of your candidates who have completed their process and have been either rejected by you, or they withdrew their application, or they've been hired. Okay, so we've answered that question. Let's take a look at some of your other questions in the Q&A. Okay. So in terms of email templates, I see here a question about the different email templates. We do have the option to set up different email templates in different languages in Comeet. This can be relevant for the emails that you're sending out for the auto scheduling feature or for anything else. It's also a good time to mention that the candidate voice feature comes in different languages. We have the candidate voice feature in Portuguese, Spanish, Russian, German, and French. So you can use this across your different hiring process, across your global companies. I have some questions we've gotten over the past couple of weeks from our clients. So I'd love to answer those so you can learn from that as well. So when are the reports going to be available for you in Comeet? So we open up the reports only for the system owner and only after 15 candidates at least have filled out the survey. This is really important because we want to keep the anonymity of the candidates, and also we understand that this information is really sensitive and should be only exposed to the owner. So that's how it works in terms of reports. We talked about the different languages that we have. Another question that we got is, do candidates really respond? So yes, they do. I think they really appreciate it as well that you're taking the time to invest in learning more from them and their point of view. So we're seeing really good response rates from this. And at the end of the day, it's really important to keep in mind that these candidates are interviewing for other companies. They've been in different processes before and they have something to compare to. So that's always going to be, their benchmark in terms of their answers that they're giving you and what you can learn from them. Let's see what else we have here. Okay. Can candidates respond via mobile? Of course, they definitely can, and it's really, really comfortable to do so. Okay, so it looks like I've answered all of your questions. Okay, just gonna go ahead and mark this. And for those who are still with us, I'm going to go ahead and talk about one last topic for today. I'm just going to connect this to, our webinar today. We're talking a lot about the candidate experience and your branding and how you can automate, save time, And so this is just another thing that I'm sure some of you already are familiar with, which is our custom email templates in Comeet. You have the option to use custom email templates to communicate with your candidates or internally regarding any topic or need that you have. This will help automate the communication and definitely ensure unified messaging across your company. So I'm going to go ahead and share my Comeet again. And we're going to go into our email templates. So as a system owner, you'll click on the top right-hand corner. You could have access to this as well if you're an admin, and depending on your company permissions. In our email template, just like we saw before, we have the auto templates. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is our custom email templates. Custom email templates allow you to build new templates from scratch using all of our different editing tools and attributes. You can use them to build templates that will be available for everyone in the company or specifically for you. I've prepared just a few examples to show you. So one of the examples here is a home assignment or a home task for a candidate. So I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, use different tasks as part of the hiring process. And you need to go to the candidate profile and copy their email and open a new message and attach the file. So in order to automate that, you can build a custom template. You'll give it the title that you want. In this example, R&D team leader home assignment. It will be sent from the candidate, from the teammate. So the candidate can reply. It'll be sent to the candidate. You can edit the subject. In this case, hi candidate first name. First name is an attribute. Attached is your home assignment. Here is the text in the email. It was great speaking with you. As a next step, please complete this short home assignment. It should take you around 2 days. And then you have two options. You can either add a hyperlink, right? It's the online test here. Choose hyperlink, and then they'll have a link to the online test that they can go in directly. Or you can go over here at the top and click on the little paperclip and attach the actual assignment or task to this email. Once you click save, this will be available from your candidate profile. So if I'm going to go back to candidate profile, for example, let's just take a look. Okay, so let's say I want to send this specific candidate their home assignment. I can click here. And as you'll see in the drop down, I have R&D team leader home assignment. I can go ahead and send that to the candidate. So it's really, really easy. Another example is a reference check. Once you've moved forward with a candidate and you'd like to progress in the hiring process and hopefully give them a good offer that they would like to join your company, you probably want to talk to a few references before. So this email template is just for that. Please send us 2 to 3 references, including full name, phone number, email. This is sent also, just like we saw, to the candidate via the candidate card, and they can reply directly with their references. 2 last examples. One is thank you for meeting us. Sometimes candidates will come in for a really long day, just like we saw, a multi-interview or on-site day, meet lots of people, spend lots of time. Maybe they even took a day off from their current job to come in and meet you. So I just drafted up an email here. Hi, candidate. Just wanted to say thanks for taking the time to come in today and meet us. We really appreciate your time and effort and enjoyed getting to know you. As you know, we're continuing the hiring process. Here you can add the position name, and we'll be in touch regarding the next step in the upcoming week. So this is just a really nice email that candidates, I'm sure, will appreciate, that you're thank them for coming in, that you're going to speak to them soon regarding the rest of the process. And sometimes we have to put positions on hold. We've invested time, we've spoken and interviewed candidates, but there's been an internal company decision to freeze the hiring process. So in this case, you have a template that you can easily send to multiple candidates at once, letting them know that this position is on hold and that you'll update them before we make changes. So that's pretty much it for custom email templates. As you saw, it's really super easy. It doesn't require too much effort. I really want to thank you all for joining us today. It was really great to see so many of you here with us. We're really excited about our new features, and we hope you're going to be using them and enjoying them really soon. We'll be sure to send out the recording of the webinar to all of you, and we'll keep in touch. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.